Hello everyone, welcome back to another light novel review. I am the Rat, and this is The Rat's Nest. Today, we're talking about a very interesting book. Blade and Bastard, Warm Ash, Dusky Dungeon. I can pronounce words. I'm very fluent in English. It's my first language. Je parle un petit français aussi. This was a very interesting read. So, I actually picked this book up whenever I did because I saw the art on it. I think it was right after it released, so it was kind of like it was Barnes and Noble, I think, and it was one of those I was like facing out. So I got to see the cover art, and I was like, that looks sick. And I saw it, and I saw it was written by Kumo Kagyu, obviously author of Goblin Slayer, and art by So Bin. I probably didn't pronounce that correctly. So Bin, I don't know, who does the art for Overlord. And so I loved the art, and this is the second time I bought a book based off of just the art. And I was like, well, I know Kumo Kagyu is a good author. I was like, I know I like his stuff. The art kind of sold me. So I got it, and I knew nothing about it. And I will say until the end, in the afterward, I had no clue that it was based off of an existing IP. I saw the Wizardry thing in the bottom left of the cover, and I'd seen it, elsewhere, wherever it all is. And I was like, that's all. I was like, I wonder what that means, right? And apparently, Wizardry is an old RPG, an old computer game RPG kind of thing, similar to D&D in kind of some aspects, right? That's a frame of reference for it that I have because I play a lot of D&D. So this was a really interesting read going into it, not knowing that it was based off of an existing IP, because I liked the book. I did. I'm not going to say I didn't like it, but one of the things I liked about it that I was like, I kind of respect, but it was also weird, was how getting into it, right, it kind of threw you in, and like the expectation, I guess, that you already knew kind of what was going on, at least in terms of the magic system. Like, I've read a bunch of different magic systems, right, and I'm not going to claim that most of them are good. It's mostly isekai whatever stuff, bog standard, bottom of the barrel, yada 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 magic systems. And so to have one that felt unique like this, and also, like I said, just kind of threw you into it, I appreciated that, and I liked it, although it was a little weird not to kind of get, like, I thought we would kind of get more on it as we got into the book and kind of got to explain, like, okay, why are things called this and yada yada. And we just didn't really get that, which is fine. But it kind of led up to kind of, what my thoughts on the ending are, which I'll get to, where it's just like I get that it's from Wizardry, and it's like, okay, catering to Wizardry fans. Like, you're not going to read a D&D book and expect, someone who's never experienced D&D before to fully understand the casting system, right? You're not going to expect them to fully understand the spells. Like, I get that it's a similar thing, but it was kind of weird. But I do like it. I mean, obviously, it's a unique system. There's nothing quite like it in any other light novel that I've read, and I like it. And also, just with Kumo Kagyu's writing, obviously, he's very familiar with D&D as well. This felt like a very D&D-esque novel. Goblin Slayer itself being canonically D&D, and even more so Year One, and what's the side story? What's the side story? Why can't I remember the title? The title of that, the one that's in second person with the party, what, yada yada yada, whatever, right? Who cares? Obviously, he has experience writing these kinds of stories, and this was very similar. But also, I liked, I guess, to say how much character each character had. Obviously, I think that Kumo Kagyu does a good job writing characters. Characters are one of the high points of Goblin Slayer itself, is getting to see all the different characters, the relationships with each other, everyone interact with each other. And Blade and Bastard is no different. I think that Yamarus is a very fun protagonist, and Garbage, Miraja, Aini, Sesmar, all of them. I think that they're very fun kind of characters to come around. I mean, I'd say Raja is kind of the most relatable of the main cast. And so, like, coming out of it, he was probably my favorite character. Yarmarus is the coolest, right? He's the the mysterious main character with the weird powers, and we find out he's a samurai, which is an extinct power, and it ties into the lore, and he's reborn and reborn again with different lives. And it's like, okay, so Yarmarus is like the Wizardry protagonist, right? And you have Garbage, who's obviously connected to some royal family shenanigans and whatnot. But I really did enjoy the characters, getting to see them kind of grow and interact with each other over the course of it. Eineke was fun as well. Desmar was kind of there. Him and his party, I would say his party was kind of weak. I mean, obviously they're not a focal point. They're just kind of weaker characters, I'll say. He's calling them weak. Like, I don't know how fair strictly that is. But they were kind of weaker characters in general. I mean, we just didn't get to spend a lot of time with them, which, is going to happen, right? Like, oh no, we didn't get to spend a bunch of time with the side characters. Oh no, we spent time with our main cast. But I think there were fun dynamics going on throughout the book. As for the story itself, pretty easy to follow, especially for being based off of a IP. Like, being able to finish a book from an IP and not know that it's based on an IP, that shows the writing was pretty good, right? That shows that the author was able to make the world breathe on its own without any prior knowledge. Now, if I knew Wizardry and I had played the game, I was kind of more familiar with it, and I went back and read this book, I'd probably have it'd probably be a cooler experience for me, I'd probably be able to be like, oh, look, it's the thing, especially with the ending. It'd be a little more mind-blowing, where I will say the ending is the one part that kind of felt like previous knowledge was needed. Not strictly. It wasn't strictly needed, but it definitely felt very weird. The same kind of weird that almost was had with the magic system. That was kind of weird. I'm not gonna it was weird. I liked it, but it was weird. But this was weird in kind of a more negative sense, in that it was throwing names at me like I was kind of expected to know. And so these big reveals kind of had a little bit of a damper on them, just because I don't feel like everything was revealed in context of someone like me who didn't know Wizardry. And it was just kind of confusing. The end felt like the quote-unquote fan servicey part of the book for Wizardry fans, which is completely fine. I'm not I'm not gonna order baked beans and then get it and be like, where's my lettuce? I'm not going to be like, man, why did the book on the IP not cater to someone who doesn't know the IP? No. I mean, it's a really, really super well-written book, and I assume for Wizardry fans, it was awesome. I mean, I really enjoyed it not being a Wizardry fan. I just like Kumo Kagyu's writing, the physical words that he uses, the way that he writes stuff. Sobin's art is amazing and phenomenal, though. Kind of the same with Overlord. Sometimes it can get to a point where I'm like, what's going on? I think there was a few examples of that, and I mean, there wasn't really much artwork in here, which isn't a bad thing, but it can sometimes be a little hard to see everything that's going on. I think this is clearer than Overlord, and also I'm not going to claim to be a huge Overlord fan. I've just read the first 3 light novels for it, but I love the art. Light novel art is something I could go on and on about, because so many light novels have such generic art. It gets so boring. So I always love artists like Sobin and in North Carolina, or was North Carolina the author of Sorcerer King of Destruction and Golem of the Barbarian Queen? I don't know. The artist of the Sorcerer King of Destruction and the Golem of the Barbarian Queen. Great. Phenomenal. I love that art. I love this art too. There's no shot it was Sobin as well. I'm gonna have to check that. Let me check that real quick. Okay, yeah, no, it wasn't Sobin. It was Shiba. So it starts with an S, right? I wasn't completely off base for thinking it might be Sobin. But I think that it's clear that this wasn't just something that Kumo Kagyu did to make money or to get the check from Wizardry, right? I think this is something he did because he genuinely wanted to, obviously he's very inspired by D&D, and I think in the afterword he even said, that he was a big fan of Wizardry going up to. Apparently it's bigger in Japan than it is here, because I had never heard of it. And so I think that him, Sobin's illustrations are always good, but it shows that I think a lot of care went into this book. And so just overall, I'm a fan. Obviously, you have the story of Yarmus, and he's a corpse collector and finds garbage, and they have to fight people, and they get to the thing, and it's in the dungeon. I think the lore of the dungeon is interesting too. I admittedly, I will say, I cannot remember a ton of details. I read this book over the course of like 3 months, and I finished it 2 months ago, as of the time of recording, and I have no clue how many years in the future this episode is going to come out. But I did enjoy the story. It was good. I think the fights were interestingly written. I think that getting to see Yarmus's character develop kind of throughout, getting to see, the corpse system of the dungeon, which I think, something I can compare it to something I've seen recently. This is gonna date the video, but a series that I've been watching. It's been finished for a second now, but Delicious in Dungeon, kind of, where it's, they're going through a dungeon, and if you die, you can be revived. Sometimes you can't. But this one is kind of a more specific, no, you can't. Obviously, these are game mechanics, but I think that he did a really good job of translating what I believe to be game mechanics into world mechanics and stories, and integrating it into here, and still managing to keep tension and everything else intact. I think that that's really impressive, and I do enjoy that he was able to do that. Overall, like, I'm a fan of this book. I'll probably get volume 2 whenever it comes out. I like the characters, I like the world. I will say, admittedly, it's probably not going to be a priority for me. Like, nothing against this series, right? But I'm not a Wizardry fan. And like I said, the ending was kind of like, okay, we're kind of getting more into, maybe you'd like some Wizardry knowledge here. So, will I get volume 2? I'm certainly, like I would like to. I'll go ahead and say that I would like to. If for no other reason than the books themselves are beautiful. J Novel Club really did very well with basically everything except, man, the white at the top and bottom of the spine is a little interesting. But overall, I'm a fan of the characters, the story. I'm a fan of it. It just might be a little bit back in my read order. But yeah, very, very solid novel. So thank you all for watching. If you're this far in the episode, then obviously there is something you liked. Make sure to like, subscribe, and leave a comment telling me what you thought about this book. Thank you all for watching. I genuinely hope you all enjoyed. And I will see you all next time. Bye-bye.